I'm Phil with Alpha Bowhunting, and this is our new show, To The Point.
Just giant. Just
a little bit of Bondo and some paint and stuff, dude. Just boom, lay him out. Be a giant buck.
Why don't I just go shoot a giant buck?
130? Now 160. Bam. Little Bondo. Golden, bro.
Yeah, look, we were sitting over there meeting, and I'm like, God, what's wrong with that deep? What's going on with that?
All right, welcome back. Alpha Bowhunting To The Point. Phil Mendoza here. Bo, Braden, Nate sitting in with us tonight. We're going to be talking about some current events, current happenings that we've got going on here in the next week to month, right? Month and a half. And before we get started, we want to let you know this show is brought to you by Gummy Bears.
Gummy Bears.
So, anybody want to know anything about Gummy Bears? I think we've got you dialed on different flavors.
Albanese Gummy Bears. These are the new thing.
Those
The new
are the
king.
bomb.
The new king.
Those are the money ones. And then secondly, we're going to be adding another little element. If you're watching us on YouTube as opposed to listening on the audio, you can see that I'm holding the To The Point buzzer here. If one of us starts getting out of line here, we're gonna go ahead and get buzzered. If we get off track, see a squirrel, which don't get me wrong, squirrels are good sometimes.
Now when they sound like that big 160 buck,
But
and getting you all excited.
Whoa, what? Okay, so again, getting to the point here, we've got Nebraska for the most part. I've got a Kansas tag. There's a couple developments we have coming up that we're doing our due diligence this year, so that way we can bring to light for next year kind of the evolution of many things, Alpha Bowhunting, No Limits Archery, and what we've been doing on the coaching program into the hunt. Okay, so we talked about it in the last few episodes that teaching hunting instinct happens in the field, right? That's the best place for it. So what better way to continue to evolve and help bow hunters learn than by letting us go with you in the field and hunt, right? Potentially that's kind of a little teaser as to what we've got going on. But Braden and I went out a couple days ago, set up some tree stands on one of the pieces that we have in the works that we're working on, and interesting piece, don't you think, Braden? I mean, it's different from any type of whitetail hunting I've done in the past.
It's a neat little piece. I went out there in the spring and did some turkey hunting on it too, and got to see some of it and explore a lot of it. And I'm excited about what the potential that it has to offer and what we can do with it. So it's going to be fun.
We just scratched the surface, right?
Oh, we just scratched the surface.
So to get people up to speed, Bo and Braden are heading back out again here in a couple days. They're going to continue the scouting, do a little afternoon hunting, setting up some stands.
A few more cameras.
So, more cameras. That's the other thing. You know, this is not sponsored by CuddyLink, but we set up a CuddyLink system. I am very impressed with the cell system, the cell link system, delivering pictures, quality of pictures. We've been getting emails daily.
It's taking up a lot of my time just looking at
I look forward to that email.
Every day I'm like, where's it coming? What do we got?
And then, so then I'm going to take my son Dom out here in a couple weeks, and then a couple weeks after that, a second piece that we've got in the works for some hunts for next year. Nate and I are going to go down there, along with Jason. Anybody that's spent some time here around No Limits Archery, Jason's one of the big guys that takes care of you. So we're going to go out and do some hunting on another piece. So there's a ton of developments coming down the line. But that being said, I want to take the next few minutes to just touch on, just pose a question, and I'll start with you, Bo. Bo's a man of many bow setups, okay? Bo's got almost too many bow setups in my opinion.
No such thing.
But Bo, what's your plan when you get out chasing some whitetails? And you may end up in Wisconsin. I'm not sure, that's still yet to be determined yet this year.
Yeah, that's on the fence still.
But Nebraska, a couple trips, we got those lined out. What's your setup going to look like for the hunts that you're going to be in Nebraska for? I mean, bow, poundage, arrow weight.
Yeah, so
kind of your bread and butters.
Yeah, so the last kind of feeds we did, we talked about that I might change my stuff up, and I decided to do that. I'm gonna pull out one of my older bows. I'm gonna pull out a Hoyt Carbon Element, 65 pounds. I'll be shooting a gold tip Pierce Platinum 340. Broadhead's still a little bit on the fence. I'm gonna try a new fixed blade head, I think, It's been a while since I hunted whitetail with a fixed blade head, so I'm gonna give it a shot, see what happens there. But yeah, I'm just kind of going a little bit lighter in the poundage, expecting cold weather. Braden and I were looking at weather a little bit earlier today. I think Sunday. High's supposed to be 37 degrees.
Should be a good day.
So yeah, it should keep them on their feet. And anticipating with that colder weather, muscles getting tight. I need to make sure I can pull my bow.
Yeah.
So
Braden, what you got, man? I know you're changing up a little bit, right?
I jumped to the 70-pound Hyperforce now. I shot the 80-pound Ultra for elk and deer here in Colorado, but I'll jump to the 70-pound Hyperforce. Shooting a 445 grain arrow. It's a little lighter than I normally would shoot, but just we're trying to keep the speed up for those whitetails, those jumpy little things. And then broadhead, again, like we talked about in the last feed, I've kind of had to change a heart on that, and I'll have a few of the Severs in my quiver, and then some super top secret stuff.
Some of the new stuff.
Some of the new
we've
stuff
had the privy to test out.
that we need to put through some animals to see how they do. So
Hey, where are you gonna be, man?
I'm going to be running the RX-1 Ultra, 70-pounder, which is, I got it set up at about 73 pounds. Axis arrows with the solid iron will 125s.
Nice.
So coming out at about 280 a second.
Yeah, so I changed up my setup a little bit as well. I've been hunting with injections for my elk and the deer, the mule deer early season that we, the 3 or 4 days we got to hunt mule deer. But my setup ended up at like 535, I believe, arrow weight.
yeah,
So I changed to some Axis 300s. I'm trying some new collars on the Ethics archery system, which I'm pretty impressed so far. I mean, versatility, durability, they appear to be top notch on that.
tolerances are super tight.
The tolerances are really good, and
Yeah.
that outsert style system, right? I
Yep.
mean that stainless
footer.
collar. It's
Yeah,
a
the
foot,
foot-
right?
it's a
of
footer,
course,
I
of
think,
course you
yeah.
put your own twist.
Hey,
to
I always
that.
got a
Your own-
monkey
your
with
own-
stuff,
your own
man. There's-
twist in that. It's not,
There's many
nothing-
people out there that do excellent job of putting things together, but I always think I got to try to do something better.
Yep.
You know,
Yep, a little twist on it.
we'll
It's
figure it out. But
Little bam, little spice of his own.
Spice.
74 pounds on the Ultra. Just kicking those arrows finished out at 505 on the Axis with the hybrid Ethics archery system. We call it, right? And they're kicking at about 281, 282 feet per second as well.
Plenty
so.
quick.
Yeah, plenty good speed-wise. Like I said, great momentum, energy, and granted, all things considered, when you look at what the Alpha system really preaches and promotes, that first, third, second, third, I'm more looking at that first third. I think is what 90%, 95% of the shots
Ideally,
are
right.
going to be, right?
Yeah.
It could go into that second, third, and on some occasions or instances, one of the properties we have in this lease that we've acquired that we're putting together, there's mule deer on the one property. It's not out of the question that we may end up trying to put some stocks on some of those bedded mule deer in the middle of the day.
Well, it's not out of the question. We'll put some stocks on some better whitetail
either,
too.
right?
I'm kind of itching for that too. So the tree stand
pull
and
out the-
ground blind may not be the only mode of attack out there.
Pull out the decoy and see what happens.
And it's all about extending the season, increasing the number of opportunities that we're available to have, and I'm excited. I mean, I have almost too many opportunities to hunt over the next month and a half, 2 months, that my wife's already starting to question it a little bit, right? So, but I'm taking my son. I'm excited about that. It's probably one of the only trips I get to take him now in the later season. As it gets colder, as you guys know, it gets colder, and as the season rolls on, I want to keep the hunts still fun for him to where he's not miserable. Some of us enjoy and embrace that misery sometimes, but with Dom,
Bring
I'm
on
going
the
to take him
cold.
out. Hopefully it's not too cold, but excited for that. So Nate, this is your first time on the show, so quickly we touched on some of our lessons learned and gear, if you will, that's something that you tried, a piece of gear, a new piece of gear you tried that you were impressed with, you weren't impressed with. And again, on your hunts, is there something that you took from it this year that you're like, yeah, I planned for this and I knew it was going to happen and it happened that way, or man, I really screwed up because of XYZ? So
I tell you,
before
this
you
year-
start,
okay.
you're on the buzzer time. You're on
Got
the
it.
buzzer.
on
So
the buzzer.
I'm going to go ahead and let B rein you in. Tell the story, but let's keep it to the point.
This year was a little bit different for me because, like with you bringing your son along.
Yeah.
I brought my daughter on 3 of my hunts.
Yeah.
So everything changed real quick. It went from what we normally do, getting out, being in the tents and backcountry 4, 5, 6 miles into doing a lot of, small hunts here where you hike about a quarter mile in and all of a sudden you got to take a break because you found a raspberry bush. So wasn't as successful as I wanted to be killing wise this year, but the experiences that we had are going to be lifelong forthcoming. We've got a late season rifle tag, which I usually don't pick up anymore, but did it this year just to help get the freezer full.
Yeah.
And my daughter's already itching to go again.
Nice.
So it's a little bit different this year, and I was actually really excited just to have her out there with me doing things.
I mean, we were staying in touch throughout the season, so it's great to hear that she's following suit, right? That most of our kids are going to watch us parents and they want to join in, and it's something that, like you said, the teaching factor
Right.
takes precedence.
I'll have to get you the videos and post some of the videos. I've got her in the kitchen with me, literally butchering the deer, cutting them up, getting them ready for the grinder, and just excited to be a part of it.
It's great to see, and
Yeah.
the other thing that I learned too, before I pass it back over to you on the gear question, I usually take for granted certain things, and this is something I talked about with cutting an animal, skinning an animal, deboning or quartering, whatever the case is, gutless method. I usually take that for granted. It's cut, go, bag,
Get in a hurry,
continue,
trying to get everything
move,
cool.
cool it off, right?
Right.
And as I let Dominic start cutting and he's asking questions, I had to sit there for a second and I just had to slow down.
Right.
We were in the shade. It was not super hot.
It was okay.
It was okay.
Yep.
But the questions just kept coming. And even after we were done, the questions that came about afterward were just, so yes, I'm excited for you to have more experiences like that with your daughter, because it's an experience that only parents know what it's like.
Absolutely.
But so gear wise, and is there anything you were really impressed with, or something, an experience that happened that you're like, yeah, you know what, I thought that I was ready for this and I wasn't, or this piece of gear was money?
I would have to say I've had the same quiver for about 5 years now, and the rubber is starting to wear out. On one of our first hunts, we were going through some rough timber, and
What
I
quiver
lost.
were you using? I mean, we're not sponsored.
It's
here by
an
anybody.
old. It was one of the old fuse quivers.
Okay.
On one of the setups that I had originally
Two
built.
piece, one piece.
One piece,
Okay.
6 arrow, and after about 5 years of it, everything starts to wear out. And the first hunt we went on, I lost an arrow.
Yeah.
My number one arrow that was sitting in my quiver, when we got back to the truck, was gone, and there was no finding it. So, with that being said, I'll be buying a new quiver here pretty soon.
So yeah, and that's where Bo, his whole deal was, he's like, man, I didn't change much,
Right.
And
I thought about the bow setup, and then Grant Braden brought up to my attention the
Sleep
sleep
system.
system, which I didn't think of, but yeah,
And we're going to get into some of those questions more. I wanted to keep this more pertinent to what we have kind of forthcoming, right? Because when these shows start to air, it's probably going to be about a week and a half after actually we recorded this. So we may have been in the field or getting ready to get into the field. So as you start hearing them, it's going to be pretty much right on point with when we're there, really starting our hunts in that Nebraska, Kansas, whitetail mule deer, right? And there's just a ton of grinding that we're going to be doing. Yes, we get to hunt in the process, but we're actually preparing for much to come next year. And who knows, right? Maybe one of the things that we end up doing with some of the alpha champions next year is just do a alpha winners hunt. Maybe take the winners out there
That would be really cool.
and spend some time in camp and enjoy the company, because at the end of the day, like you said, the memories and experience, we all enjoy it. The journey in bow hunting does not suck. I still say, like I've said in our seminars, winning's important, tagging out is important, but we have the luxury of that journey being, better than most things out there. That the journey sucks and the end goal is what is the icing on the cake. But you guys got anything to add quickly on kind of what you're excited for? Anything just for these next few weeks that we got lined out?
I'm excited to get back to Nebraska. It's been 8 years since I've hunted whitetail.
Nice.
And down in Texas, it doesn't get as cold as it does up here.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking forward to sitting in a tree stand freezing my butt off. But I haven't been in whitetail in in quite some time. So
I'm excited. I'm excited for the new property and everything to come with that, and what that develops into, and being able to manage that. Got some hunts in Illinois planned for whitetail too, so I got a full month and a half of hunting to do. So
Yeah.
giddy up.
Yeah. For me, yeah, I'm ready to get back hunting some whitetail. I'm gonna change it up a little bit this year too. I'm gonna try to carry the camera a little bit more. Normally I'm just in go mode and chasing, any big buck I can find, but this year I'm gonna put a little bit more emphasis on trying to get some animals on film. I've dabbled in it a little bit. As you know, I've carried the camera some, but I'm gonna give that a try. Let alone Nebraska. Charlie, one of our guys that comes and shoots here a lot, older gentleman, hasn't been able to hunt deer in Colorado for quite some time because of some knee and hip injuries. He drew a tag this year. I'll be taking him out, and I'll try to get that on film as well, so you guys can see how that hunt pays out.
Yeah, and it's a ton going on, but we're gonna finish this episode with the reminder. Go back to the social media, because this is actually before it goes out, so these guys haven't heard all the details yet. The giveaways that we're doing to help get this off the ground and in front of people, make sure you pay attention to that. Make sure you're following the instructions and directions, because we've got a ton to deliver back to the people, as we always do with the alpha events, and it's going to be nothing short of that here as well. So make sure to pack your gummies.
Find those at the gas station.
Pack your gummies on the next trip. Tag us, Alpha Bowhunting, on Instagram, and let us know as well. We're excited to see it, and we'll check you guys soon.